in terms of the movie that actually came out with the Luna Ghost flying in at the beginning to be unmasked, were you ever the one in the Luna Ghost costume itself? Because quite often they get different people to be inside the costumes from when they're unmasked. So were you actually the one in the costume, or were you just there from the point of the unmasking?
Basically from the point of the unmasking. When you see him stagger back and fall down, that's me, and that's where I'm in. But I can tell you a funny story about it if you want it.
Oh yes, please.
So and the rest of it was a stunt sequence, which I think took weeks to film. So that was stuntmen in that costume. And when it got to me, they they brought me on, and I'd been watching stuff, and it was, you know, I'd been on set behind the director watching. It was amazing. It was the biggest set I'd ever been on. And then it got to me, and they stood me there, and they brought out the mask, and it was, you know, it was very large, and it was really heavy. It was, you know, I think it was about 7 or 8 kilos, something like that. And they put it on, and of course it wobbled. And the director said, I think he called out at the time, you know, Nicholas, can you keep it still? And I said, there's nothing in here to keep it still with. It's just space around my head. And then so he called the people who'd made it, and they said, well, we understood from the script that he was going to be lying on the ground and the mask would come off. And the director said, no, he's going to fall down, and then he's going to be pulled up and the mask will be taken off. And they had this big kerfuffle, and then they took it away. And they came back, because the other thing was they were dependent on sunlight. They had lots of lights in there, but they needed the sunlight coming in the factory, and the sun was going down. So they brought back the head, and they had inside, they'd kind of put like, it was a bit like really thick paddle pop things across here, and then another paddle pop out here, so that if I jutted my chin out, which is how I end up doing the character anyway, if I jutted my chin out and put it down like this and had my head like this, I could just hold it straight. And we had to practice, because it did wobble, and they didn't want it to wobble because you've had that whole sequence. But by the end of lots of practice, I eventually said, guys, my neck is giving way, and we're gonna have to roll on this because I can't hold it anymore. So the solution was they brought a doctor out who said, what's wrong with your neck? And I said, nothing is wrong with my neck. I've just got this 8-kilo thing on it, and I'm supposed to hold it still with a paddle pop on my chin. And you know, they said, oh, you can do it, you can do it. And then the light went. So everything got packed away, and then we came back the next day. And we managed. I managed to hold it still. Then we got to the section. Sorry, I'm carrying on. We got to the section where he has to float up in the air. And the director said, okay, you know, let's put the harness on. And we put a harness on, and I was thinking, how are the straps going to come out the back? And sure enough, there was nothing for the straps to come out of the back. Nobody had told the costume people that I was going to be, you know, taken up in the air. So then the costume had to go away and had to be redone so that so that we could get that. So a sequence that was designed to take about 2 hours with all the lighting and so on, basically took took about a day in total.
Gosh, it sounds like it's a good thing they got you for the 6 days, because with things like that, they could have maybe needed you a little bit longer. And
it's nobody's fault. It's just when you're on something so big, the lines of communication get lost. That's all.